In this third episode of Red Pens and Red Flags, I speak with an ELD paraprofessional, Nancy Gonzalez. ELD stands for English Language Development. And Nancy shares her frontline experience as an ELD aide, serving newly arrived students from around the world, newcomers. She critiques the rigidity and drawbacks of prolonged ELD placement for U.S.-born students and underscores how inclusion and push-in models benefit learning and behavior. Nancy also expresses skepticism about the Department of Education's effectiveness, but strongly supports DEI values and teacher diversity. Drawing on her personal immigrant experience, Nancy paints a passionate and hopeful picture of advocacy, student representation, and her journey toward becoming a licensed teacher. Even as official programs are under threat, she shows up. Welcome to Red Pens and Red Flags, the podcast that's not afraid to grade the current state of American education. I'm Rictor Riolo, a grad student knee-deep in the world of teaching, technology, and just trying to stay out of recess reset. I'm joined by Nancy Gonzalez. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Can you please describe to me and our listeners what your role is in education right now?
I work in public education, middle school level. I am an EA, and I support students from different countries, Micronesia, Mexico, Cuba, and I support them throughout the day in their core classes or electives. And that's what we do, just make them feel comfortable and welcome and making sure that they are connected and understanding.
Are they all Spanish speaking?
No, there are different languages, Russian, Indonesian, Portuguese,
Wow.
Ukrainian, different languages. And we do rely on Google Translate sometimes to support them.
How many paraprofessionals are there here in this particular middle school that do this?
I would say it's two of us that
Two.
support ELD students. So I support the newcomers, and then there's one more person that supports.
What is ELD? Is that English Language Development?
Yes.
And what's a newcomer?
Newcomers, it's for students that have been in the country for less than a year, have recently arrived.
So quite literally, newcomer.
Newcomer, yes.
Wow. And this is middle school level.
Correct.
Wow. There's been a lot of things in the news lately regarding education with the current presidential administration. The shuttering of the Department of Education, which is responsible for every state being all on the same page when it comes to education and getting funds from the government. Do you have any concerns in the event ELD is taken away from this school within a year if the Department of Education is truly destroyed?
To be honest with you, I'm not so concerned about the idea of shutting down the Department of Education. I think the states will have more say in regards to education. The reason I am not so concerned about it is because I feel like there's something lacking there. We have students that were born in the United States and are still students, 8th grade, middle school. And we're unintentionally hurting those kids because they should be taking other classes. They should be able to have more choices. But when we do this, when we let them stay in the program for too long, we're hurting them. And then when they get to high school, they really struggle there. So I wish that the Department of Education could see this. And I also question ELPA. Like if an English language speaking student would take this test, would that student pass it? Like, are they making it too difficult for a student to get out of ELD? And that's my concern with the Department of Education, and that's why I'm not a big fan of them.
ELPA, you mentioned ELPA, English Language Proficiency Assessment. It's a state-mandated test, and students need to receive a score in order to no longer receive services from the state.
To be considered proficient on the ELPA and potentially eligible for reclassification or exit from English language services, a student typically needs to achieve a level 4 or higher score in all 4 domains: reading, writing, listening, and speaking.
And after so many years, they have no interest on taking that test anymore.
Yeah.
So they just skip through the questions.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, that's something that concerns me.
Have you seen students, regardless of race, income, or zip codes, receiving the same quality of education?
I think in our school district and at a school level, yes.
The same level.
Yes, same level of education with still the concern of the ELD students that they could be getting more.
Yes. You mentioned not having ELD in high school. What happens if a newcomer comes from, let's say, El Salvador, is 15 years old, does not speak a word of English? What kind of resources are they going to have if there's no more ELD?
I think push-in support, like EA support inside the classroom. But when I'm referring to students being in ELD for too long, I'm talking more about the kids that were born and raised here. But the newcomers, it would be a different situation.
You mentioned push-in. Is that meaning entering a classroom?
Yes.
That's what you do right now?
Educational assistant support in the classroom. Yes. That's
Okay.
what I do in math. I'm there for the entire period to make sure that those students are learning math at their grade level. So I'm there to support them, and they're amazing. They do an amazing job.
You push in with students, and you've seen students come into the classroom with ELD. Which one works better, do you think, for students?
What I'm finding is when they're spending too much time in one classroom for too long, you lose them. They have no interest, and then we start having behavior problems. And when we push in, they're more involved. They're with other students too, not the same students for a long time. They move in together sometimes, but they get to see other teachers, other students, and some of them, they find teachers they can identify with.
The No Child Left Behind Act that President Bush did was very much about that
Yeah.
having the kids in the classrooms.
Yes.
And you're saying it's very positive for them to be included,
Yes.
inclusive
Yeah.
with their peers.
Yes. And that's how they learn more English. Because if they're all together, all speaking Spanish, then there's not much progress there.
What do you think schools will look like 5 to 10 years from now if the current trends continue?
Hard to say. I don't know if we would have newcomers anymore because, and also the numbers of our students will probably be dropping too. Might be something that it's combined. I see it differently. I just don't know like how much, at what level, but I'm thinking programs might be combined. Think there might be a chance that we can go back to that. But it is really hard to say, as even if there's budget reduction, I want to make sure that I'm still there for our students. Even if there's no ELD program, then still supporting those students. And I think we will go back to what it used to be
Before there
the
was
numbers.
ELD.
Yeah, before numbers went up. I was an ELD student, but I was only in the program for like 3 years. And the fact that we have kids that were born here in the United States still being ELD students, when they have the language, I didn't have to take a test, and I think that's how I got out of ELD. But the students, they now have to take that test, and I wish there's a gap somewhere.
Also, with
That
the
is-
test, from what I have seen, it's entirely electronic on a computer, on a Chromebook.
Correct.
If a student is not techno savvy, they can have an assistant help them take the test, but no translating, no helping whatsoever. It's just click here when you're finished, speak here into the microphone when you're ready, click stop when you're done.
Yeah, and even if they know the language, how much are they willing to try? And it gets to a point where they start thinking, oh, if I get out of ELD, it's going to get hard. So I might want to stay here a little longer.
Okay.
But then when they get to high school, it's when they face reality.
Nancy, this is a hard-hitting question. Are you an example of DEI?
Yes, I am, and I do know what our students go through. So it's easier for me as a newcomer to understand them, what they go through. And I think our school district does a very good job about being inclusive. So, yes.
DEI meaning diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Inclusion, yes.
What are your thoughts on the red states discriminating against teachers who are DEI, trans, LGBT, Latina, etc.? Do you think discrimination is going to happen?
Yes, I think discrimination is there and will always be there. But I mean, it will get harder for sure. But that's when we have to stick together and advocate for each other. School and district levels, we can't do so much state or country, but within our districts, I think that's when we can go in and support each other. It's very unfortunate that this is happening.
With everything that's been happening with the United States in regards to education and funding being taken away, the Department of Education being shuttered, the attacks on DEI by the president and his administration, the list goes on. Who do you think really pays the price for that?
I think our students, there would be the ones that would be affected by like staff, teachers, not having diversity of teachers, because students need to see that too. They need to feel represented.
The students that you mentioned, what do you think they need right now at this moment?
Speaking like newcomers.
In general.
In general. I think in general, we all need emotional support. Our students, they're struggling. There's so much anxiety with everything that is happening. I think emotional support, and students and staff and everyone, that's what we need the most of.
What gives you hope being in education? What gives you hope right now in this moment in our country?
What gives me hope is that we will take care of each other, regardless of who the president is or what is happening, that we're going to be there and support each other, support our students, show up for them. And kindness, just being there and make a difference. One student at a time, make a difference in their life.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years as an educator with the way things are currently going?
I know things are hard, but I'm hopeful that it will get better. I don't see myself doing anything else. I really enjoy working with our students. And if it's not a newcomer or ELD level, I'm still going to school to get my teaching license. And I'm hopeful to be able to work maybe a dual language school, but still be there for our students.
English is now the official language of the United States, officially. For President Trump, signing the executive action addresses his longtime complaint of foreigners diluting the English language in the United States.
It's the craziest thing. They have languages that nobody in this country has ever heard of.
Donald Trump has made it very clear that English is the official language of the United States, and he wants to remove programs that are dual language immersion, DLI, and ELD is at risk of being taken away. Then what? What are we only going to hire teachers that are bilingual? But like you mentioned earlier, there's some kids from Ukraine, Russia, Indonesia. How are we going to get teachers that are bilingual in those other languages? It's going to be very difficult.
Correct. And right now their dual language is Spanish, but the district has done a great job hiring staff that speaks Ukrainian, Russian, and that could be affected. You
mentioned you can become a teacher.
And I'm still with my same goal.
What do you want to teach?
Social studies. It would be middle school or high school level.
Oh, nice. So in 5 years, maybe less.
Maybe less if I can hurry up.
Might be next year.
Not so soon. And right now I decided to even take even longer to do that, just to make sure. But I think I would continue to work in education, ELD, DLI, those programs being at risk. I still want to be there for our kids because our kids will still be there. The programs might be gone, but the students will be there. So I want to be there for them.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
And thank you for everything that you do with your students.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Red Pens and Red Flags. This podcast series samples multiple public education professionals from different roles in schools. This includes teachers, administrators, special education, paraprofessionals, and language specialists.